Welcome to MAC Bleu, the cutting-edge podcast for the nation's builders, merging the realms of construction with exciting advancements in technology. Join us on a thrilling journey where we delve into the dynamic world of blockchain, AI, the metaverse, virtual and augmented reality, and their transformative impact on the industry. Our engaging discussions span a wide spectrum, covering not only construction, economic development, supply chain, and market segments, but also exploring the vibrant tapestry of diversity within the construction landscape. We shed light on the intersection of local politics and its profound influence on the construction sector, while championing the remarkable contributions of women and minorities in construction. For all things MAC Bleu, head to www.macandbleu.com, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky. Now let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of MAC Bleu. I'm your host, JJ Levinsky, president and co-founder of Blue Wave. Today, I'm lucky enough to have Roger Einstoss. I'm trying to get the accent in there because I want to sound intelligent, even though I'm far from intelligent. But Roger's the co-founder and CEO of Braintly, which we'll get into in a minute. He's based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And happy to have him on today. Just give a little background of career highlights. Software engineer by trade, which we'll find out some of his history. He founded his company in 2012. So, he's no rookie to this business. And he started working with companies in the U.S. on this platform in 2013. His favorite music is the Beatles, and he likes traveling and playing the guitar. So with that, welcome to the show, Roger.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So you've done enough podcasts. You know how the audience always likes to warm up to you personally. Could you go into a little explanation about how you ever got into the software engineering space to begin with? And then we'll get into more of the platform of the nearshoring, because I assume we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that versus offshoring and just the connection between the Latin Americas and the northern part of North America, quote unquote. So with that, if you could just get a little background of how the hell did you get into all this?
Yeah, sure. I'm 36 and I started coding when I was 15. So it was more than 20 years ago. I was at that time going to a technical school here in Argentina. We have to decide between different kind of specializations or orientations. So I picked informatics or technology, and I started coding in Visual Basic, which used to be a good language at that time. After 3 years, I knew that software engineer was the career I wanted to study. So I went to the public university here in Argentina. I know if you know that in Argentina you can study completely for free. So I went to the university here in Argentina. I got my degree of software engineer 5 hours later. 5 hours. I was the quickest man. 5 years later.
I was going to say.
And that's... Yeah. I was flash 5 years later. So, and just started my career, like coding, being a project leader, like going from here to there, different kind of roles. And then eventually founded my company.
So what happened? I mean, did you actually start your company right out of college, or did you go work for someone first?
No, I worked for 2 companies first, but I started working when I left high school. I was 18. I started coding, being a developer, working in PHP. And I worked for that company like 3 years and a half. It was a software factory from Argentina. And that was my first approach to working with clients in the United States, because it was an Argentinian company, but I was assigned first to a project in Argentina, but then to a project in the States. So I had the chance to start experimenting the culture, the way of working with the States. After that, I changed my job and I moved to another company here in Argentina. It was like a local company, not a software factory. It was like an agency. I work with clients in Argentina, different kind of media partners here in Argentina. And I met Facu, my co-founder, at that company. I was working there when I finished the university, and after graduating from the university, from college, I started with the idea of, okay, I have to do something because I know that I need to create something for myself. I want to be like working in a company for my whole life. So I started thinking, okay, what's the next step?
Right. So then when you guys started this company, I mean, so you'd already been experienced in the nearshoring platform, quote unquote. What talk to the audience about the early years, like who, you don't have to mention names, but like who were some of the first clients in the United States that were adapting to the nearshoring? Because what I want to do is I want to just start there, Roger, but then I also want to go and kind of have a juxtaposition on the conversation about what is the difference between nearshoring and offshoring, because there's a lot of people that think they know it, but I'd like to get your definition of it. So either start with that or start like how you had your first client in the US.
Yeah, it was by chance because I had a friend from the college who was working for this company. The name of the company was Inside Bolt. It doesn't exist anymore because they sold the company, they were acquired. But they were working in the media industry too, but in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, and he was working for them as a product manager. So he just came and told me, "Hey, Roger, we need a software developer. I know that you are starting your business. So you want to join? You want to provide that developer?" So I said, "Of course, yes, I want. This is a big opportunity." So our first client was a client from Silicon Valley, which is amazing. It's also weird for a company that is like it's been creating in Argentina, because it's not easy to land in the States, to understand how is the best way of acquiring new clients. So it was by chance, but it definitely opened a huge door for us. And we worked for that client like for 5 years or 6 maybe, until they sold the company, and then they just created like the internal team, and we just ended the contract.
What did, in that experience with that company, since that was the first one, how much of that company and that testimonial, if you will, did that open up other doors for other companies? I assumed a lot, but in specific, was it just software? Was it just like, how do I describe it? What was it? All sorts of different industries, or was it strictly just tech that you were doing the engineering for?
We were part of the engineering team. They also have like their own developers, but we just provide them with one developer first, and we ended up with 3 or 4 developers. But that experience, that testimony was amazing for us, because I mean, not because of the recommendation, but it's different, when you go to the next client and you say, "Hey, I'm working for a client in Silicon Valley, and I founded my company this year or last year." So it gives you a kind of credential. And besides, at that time, they were like in Series B or something like that. So it was a good card to say, we can work from Argentina for companies like that. So why not? I mean, we can do it, obviously, for you, for your company. You are maybe in pre-seed or seed or Series A. So if we can do it for that company, that amazing company in San Francisco, we can also do it for you. So it was a great presentation card, let's say, from that point of view.
Good. In those early years, Roger, what would you say were, with you and your partners or partner, what did you learn early on to be successful in the US on the nearshoring? What were the 2 or 3 things that you either learned the hard way or learned right away to be successful in the nearshoring platform?
That's a good question. The first is that, that in Argentina, people are more, we are not as straightforward as you are in the States. Many times if you ask a question to an Argentinian guy, we will start like, I know, maybe not going directly to the point. Maybe it's the thing that I'm doing right now without noticing. But
We call that the Latino explanation. You go all the way around the block to give the same answer.
okay, so we are Latinos, so we have that Latino explanation, and that's the thing that you have to learn when you start working with people in the States, because you are so straightforward that maybe if you are not get used to that, you can feel like harm or something like that. You say, okay, but what's happening with this man? And
you can get offended.
yeah. And it's not because he's trying to offend you. It's because time is money, and you have to be so focused on, if we have 30 minutes for this call, we have 30 minutes. I mean, I always laugh about this, because when I go to the States and have lunch with people, if we have an hour, we have an hour. But in Argentina, every time I go to have lunch or dinner with a client, I block in my calendar like 3 hours, because I know that we will have dinner for an hour and a half, and then we will have a coffee, and maybe we will end it up going for an ice cream or whatever. So it's different from that point of view. And the other thing is that most of the times with these big companies in the States, you don't have a second chance. So the first impression matters, and you have to be really, really good and accurate when it comes to place the best talent that you can. In Argentina, maybe if you're working with a client here and you miss the target with the first person that you are joining with a team, or with, the first sprint of the project, you can talk the things and you can make things happen. But in the States, or at least in my experience, there are less chances to miss the targets or miss the goals, or maybe placing someone that it's not the right for the position that the client is looking for. So at the end of the day, like being more accurate, being more focused, and understanding that that we are here to make something, to make the job, to get the things done, and that's why they are paying us.
Yeah. How are you able, when you first started, Roger, how were you able to determine the right price to charge? Like how do you know how to monetize yourself in a market when, let's say, you're used to Argentinian, hey, we know that it'd normally be, I'll just use an example, $100 an hour, but in California we have to charge $200. How do you know that? I mean, without doing, like, I know you can do research, but I'm sure you had some trial and error at the beginning.
Yeah, but we were so disconnected from the ecosystem. I mean, we were two guys working for a company in Argentina trying to sell something to the States. So I remember that I told my friend that we wanted to charge like $20, something like that, which was pretty cheap. And he told me, it's insane. I will not pay more than 10 or 12, something like that. So we started working for 12 because it was nothing. It was our first client, so we did it. And a couple of years later, I told him, "Hey, you were not playing for me. You were playing for the company." But we started at 10 or 12, something like that. And then when we started growing and having more clients, we started increasing prices, obviously. But it's difficult, and I think it's one of the most difficult things for a company that it's starting, because if you are not well connected to the ecosystem or to people that trust you and you trust them and they are working in the same industry, for me and other like software agencies, you don't know anyone to ask and say, hey, could you please tell me how much is your rate for for Java or for .NET or whatever. So it's difficult.
Okay. Let's go, Roger. Let's take a little tangent here. Let's go to the second part of my question. I think the audience would love to hear, because you are a provider, you are a nearshoring, provider. We and you know this, but a lot of people and a lot of company in the States have been sold on offshoring. Think of like the Far East, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, all those kind of areas. And then now in the last few years, the nearshoring, meaning Latin America, South America, has become kind of so popular. Can you give your storytelling version of what changed over the last 5 to 6 to 8 years or whatever from your perspective? Like, what have you seen, and why are the companies in the United States kind of taking more interest in the Latin and South America?
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
Well, you know that most of our clients started working with India and then they ended up coming to Latin America. And all of them tell me that the first thing that they hated was time zone. Dealing with this thing of time zone difference, trying to set a call with someone who is, like 5 days ahead of you. It's a bit exhausting. And many times that maybe they are willing in India to accommodate the calls to your time zone, but if there is like 3 a.m. for them, they will be at home with their children, with their dog, with everything. So time zone is the first thing that most of the people, when starts working with India, with Ukraine, with Philippines, they just can't handle that. The second thing is the cultural thing, because it's that culture between the States and Latin America in general, even more with Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina, but Latin America in general, it's so much closer than culture between the States and India, because we are like in Occident and they are like another world. It's not better nor worse, it's just different. We also share a lot of things in terms of work culture. I mean, we also understand that we need to accomplish objectives. We are like natural challengers. As Argentinians, I always say that we faced so much challenges due to the macroeconomic circumstances in Argentina. Imagine that last year in Argentina, we had 300% of inflation. So you need to learn how to make things happen despite the context. So those things create an amazing ecosystem for people, for talent to work with startups, to work with small and medium-sized company that needs to make things happen. And that culture, it's a challenger one. I mean, for instance, clients of mine told me, if I ask to an Indian developer to move this button 20 pixels, they will do it, no matter if the button ended up outside the screen or inside the screen. If I ask the same task for someone in Latin America, for instance, or someone in the States, they will, and they realize that 20 pixels is too much, they will decide by themselves to move it only 10 because it's better. Those kind of things makes the difference, even more when you have 15 hours of time zone difference. At the end of the day, maybe you are paying half of the price that you pay in Latin America, but you start maybe losing time day by day with these little things. So it depends on the kind of development that you need to do, but there are so much differences.
Okay. No, that was a good explanation. What's funny, you bring that up, Roger. I think, Ethan, I don't remember when we had it, but we had Roger, we had another guy on by the name of Chad Gill. He's in Virginia, and he did the same thing. He was in construction, but he started a different consulting.
I talked with him today. He's from
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you know Chad, but I thought he said a brilliant thing. And again, we're not being judge or jury here on this podcast, but culture is culture, right? It's different. Like you were talking about, let's be honest, there's also religious differences. When you look at the Americas, it's basically, I realize it's not 100%, but when the Americas were settled and colonized and moved forward, it was predominantly a Christian-based, type thing. And, when you look at Argentina, with how Argentina changed with the settlements, especially over the last 200 years with the European influence and all those kind of things, just like the United States, there are synergies there where you're right. We don't have those same synergies with India or the Philippines or whatever. But Chad said something very brilliant when we interviewed him, Roger, and that was, he was describing why the Filipinos are so good at what they do when it's objective, right? And then, but when it is subjective or it has more gray area, their culture, the way they're brought up, their ethos, if you will, they have a harder time with that. And that's where, like you said, maybe someone from the United States, that's where they're more entrepreneurial. Whereas, the Filipino might be more in the box and they may be smarter and better adapted at doing an engineering task, things of that nature. So that's why I wanted to go down this path, is because in this podcast, I wanted to be able to share your story so that you can elaborate of why there is so much uniqueness within each country, within a different hemisphere, and the attitude and aptitude that they bring into the nearshoring. For example, we've talked, you're in Argentina, but let's go up to Brazil. And when we look at somebody in Brazil versus someone in, like you say, another one would be Nicaragua. We see a lot of business opportunities in Nicaragua right now, but the specialty of what they're doing there with the nearshoring, like we're talking about a tech sector with you, with the software engineering, but in my space in construction, like there's a ton of estimators that are in Nicaragua that do that, where in the old days that was all India. And again, people are doing it for the same reason. I could be on a phone with someone, I could be on a Teams meeting, there's no delays, all those kind of things. Where in Brazil, those people, I don't mean to stereotype it, but it seems to be that each country and each kind of region is drawing on its own kind of unique market share niche, to where you can capitalize on it. So having said all that, I ask you, go back and explain to the audience why Argentina, and I think you have to go back and explain a little bit of your geopolitical situation in Argentina. You mentioned the macroeconomics, because someone's going to say, well, geez, Roger, why the hell are your people working for the United States? Why isn't there enough work in Argentina? Why can't they stay busy there? So can you kind of answer that question in any kind of storytelling that you can give?
Yeah. The thing is that in Argentina, if you're starting a company in Argentina, you must think worldwide, because you know that we have these macroeconomic problems, that we have inflation, we have like different kind of dollar rates, we have different kind of politics every 4 years. So if you start a company, you can't think a company, well, I know that tomorrow you have elections there in the States, but if you start a company here, you can't think a company like 10, 15 or 20 years company only based in Argentina. I will give you a perfect example. My parents-in-law bought an entire house 10 years ago, and they paid 1 million pesos. Pesos is or money. Last year, I bought a mattress and I paid 1 million pesos. So in 10 years, with the same amount of pesos, they bought an apartment and I bought a mattress. So that thing, imagine running a business with that. It's tough. So that's why most of the companies like Braintly look abroad, and we want to make business with the States, or even with Europe or other countries. And the same applies for talent. I mean, if you start studying for being a developer, you know that if you can speak English, you can go and work for the States, or you can go and work for a company like us that pay salaries in US dollars. So in countries like Argentina that have like a weak coin, a weak money, it's much better to earn your salary in dollars because you can save money, you can go abroad, you can go to the States or to Europe or wherever you want. So that creates a talent that it's ready and it's perfect for working to the States. Another thing, imagine that the first unicorn in Latin America was created in Argentina 12 years ago. It's called Mercado Libre. It's also the biggest company in Latin America. It's eBay, but for Latin America. They made the IPO 10 years ago. And since then, Argentina has been creating a lot of unicorns and really good companies. Imagine that at this point, Argentina is the country in Latin America with the most amount of unicorns per person. So
Really?
you also have talent that is working for those companies, and then they want to work for companies in the States. So if you want to work in this company that was the first unicorn in Argentina and is the most valuable company in Latin America, you must be like really good. It doesn't matter if you are a data science, a designer, a developer, marketing, sales, whatever. If you want to work for those companies that are fighting against Amazon in some countries or against eBay in other countries, you have to be really good. So everyone learn English from primary school, high school. Most of the times, if you can pay for your children a good school, for instance, in my case, my children, I have a baby boy of 6 years old. He's not a baby anymore, and a 2-year-old girl, and they go to a bilingual school because I want them to speak even better English than I can speak. I want them to be like bilingual with a great accent, not having like that Argentinian accent that we all have. So,
come on, your wife thinks it's sexy, so it's okay.
I did. So, well, she also works for a company in the States, my wife, because if you're a professional and you can speak English, you have to work for the States because you will be in a better position here in Argentina. So it's a combination of education, great startups, a great company that has been creating in the last 15 years, I would say. We also were the first country creating a unicorn, so we started first, let's say. So are many things like culture, macroeconomic problems. It's like a combo.
What a great explanation, Roger. Thank you for going down that path, and you did a thorough job. Next question, though, on that, then, where, if you look at the analytics, let's say you've had 12 years of unicorn processing now, are you still saying that there's plenty of talent in Argentina coming out of the, because let's be honest, this isn't a low-tech business, it's a high-tech business, whether it's software engineers or any kind of engineers, it still requires formal education. You have to be fairly smart. So my question is how are you taking people just out of college, or are you able to actually steal or borrow people from private industry, or is it a mix? Have you seen it change from, it started off, we were 80% recruitment out of the universities, 20% out of the business. Now that's inverted, and now we're getting more people from Argentinian businesses versus college. I think the audience would like to know, Roger, how is Braintly adapting to your conditions in Argentina to supplement the companies in the U.S.?
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave. to get it done right the first time.
Well, you know that a couple of years ago, we used to go a lot to college to recruit people. But then right now we are working more with like a staff augmentation mode. So developers go directly to the clients. So because of that, we started hiring like more senior developer instead of junior developers. So when you have to hire a senior developer, someone who has been working at least for 5 or 6 years and also doing like the right job. I mean, I know people that has been writing code for 10 years and they are still junior developers. I always say that the time it's something necessary, but it's not the whole thing. So now we are using obviously LinkedIn and we know like some companies that maybe are creating good talent, but they are not well paid, because you know that many times if you are working for a company that it's cool, maybe they don't have the best salary. And if you are working for a company that maybe it's not that cool or in the market, they are paying more. So we also try to find people that has been working for companies in the States, but maybe they miss this thing of the Argentinian style and working with people from Argentina, or having that sentiment of being part of a team in Argentina, even though they are working through us with the client in the States. We also find people that maybe they are new senior developers that maybe since a year before now, and they are working for companies in Argentina, earning good salaries in pesos, but they want to change their condition to US dollars. So it's a mixture. A lot of referrals. We have like referral fees into the team, and we empower our team to say, hey, if you know someone that it's a perfect match for us, it's a perfect fit, nobody better than you that has been working with us for years to recommend to him to come and join the company. But it's still difficult always to find developers, but that's the key of our business. I mean, helping companies to find developers.
Well stated. What I think the audience would like to know too, Roger. Imagine that you meet a lot of companies in the U.S. that are on what would be, I determine, like a short-term need, right? So they're like, Roger, we need this. Can you help us? Are you finding that you're developing more longer-term relationships, or do you still think that 50% of your business is just like a one-year transaction? I'm curious to see. I think the audience would love to know. It's like, hey, and there's no right or wrong with either answer, but are they sustainable relationships, or do you find that typically with U.S. companies, let's use U.S. as an example, if the U.S. company uses you guys as a nearshoring solution, in their own growth, once they're more well capitalized, are they then going, hey, Roger, we no longer need your service because we're bringing it in-house, we can afford it now? Or are you able to stay on with them for 2 and 3 years? I think the audience would love to know, what is the typical maturation cycle with your client base?
It changed between the type of client. Half of our clients are SMBs, small or medium-sized companies in the US, and contracts with them are long-term. We have been working with some of them for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. When it comes to startups, it's true that most of the times they die, sadly, because they can get more funds. So most of the contracts ends because they die. And the other ones, many times they maybe raise a Series A or Series B and they want to build an internal team. Many times, not because they feel that they need it, but because the investors say, okay, if I'm giving you money, you have to have the people in-house here in the States. So in those cases, sometimes we offer to the people, if they want to join the company, the client, and we charge like a small fee for that because they have the knowledge, and it's a win-win situation for everyone, for us, for the talent, and also for the client. Other times they hire the internal team and they tell us, okay, I used to have this 10 people team. Now I will only need 3 people, like the best, just to have like some extra power. And it's okay. We understand that it's part of the business. But most of the times we start our relationships thinking in a long-term way. I mean, we work with a really low commitment. We only require like a 3-month contract. And after that, you can just terminate the contract with a month in advice, saying, hey guys, I will just stop using the service because I don't need you anymore, because I don't like you, because no reason. It's up to you. So, but we try to find those clients that understand that investing in software, it's a long-term thing and not a one shot. But obviously it's not always easy to find those.
Well, it's funny you brought up a couple of good points, because we were talking about Chad earlier, that you had met him or talked to him. With him, he's got that VA for construction, which is the virtual assistants. He said the exact same thing you did. Is he goes, we have to get a minimum 90 days or 3-month contract, because it takes us that long to get the synergies working out between the entities. So I think it doesn't surprise me that you say that, Roger. The other one that made me curious, you made a comment, and I'm going to pick on it, is, do you actually get referrals from the investors, the private equity or the venture capital, like where you've proven your worth with another transaction, and then, let's be honest, where all the capital's capital, right? So they all know each other, they all talk. And if they're going to invest in another startup and they're going, hey, get a hold of Roger's company, they did a great job, even though that company went to shit, it's like at least Roger's team did a great job. Do you get referrals that way as well from the actual capital partner?
Yeah, 100% of our clients are from referrals from our clients or from VCs of our clients. For instance, we work a lot with a fund that it's in Ohio, in Cleveland, that it's called Jumpstart. They have like early stage startups, which is a segment that we are trying to stop working for, because they are pretty unstable and it's difficult for us as a business to project like a long-term relationship. But last year, or at least in the last 3 years, we worked at least for 8 to 10 clients of them, because it was like you're saying, hey, talk to Roger, and he has a team in Latin America. You will save money, you will get amazing talent. They're even more because they are in Cleveland, in Ohio. They are only 1 hour ahead. We are 1 hour ahead of them, so time zone is almost the same. So yeah, it's the main source of lead generation, like the word of mouth, VCs, partnerships. There's something that I call B2B2C, which is working for another software agencies in the States, and we provide them with developers, so we sell through them, basically.
Nice. Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you a question. Oh, I know. I'm sure you get this question all the time, Roger, but let's say someone from the United States reaches out to you and says, all right, Roger, sounds great. Your referrals all speak so highly of you. How much money am I typically going to spend on my dollar? Like, in other words, that FT, which is a full-time employee here, versus, going to you. Am I saving 40%, 60%? What's the answer that you give to the what am I trying to say? The nascent business owner in the United States that goes, Roger, how much money are you actually going to save me?
Average is 50%, 50 to 60. It depends on if it's a junior developer, a senior developer. But imagine that a senior developer here in Argentina, you will be paying around like 90,000 a year for a senior developer. And if you want to hire him in-house in the States, you will pay at least double. If you're in San Francisco or in California in general, it's even more expensive. Or in New York, in those like big cities. But yeah, it's 50 to 60.
Now, Let's go back to kind of the geopolitical thing, because you're going to have some people that go, well, geez, Roger, that's you're just extorting, you're human trafficking, you're extorting your own people in Argentina. How are they taken care of on their benefits and things like that? But again, we get back to the difference of culture. Is I'm guessing in Argentina there's probably nationalized health care. You talked about the universities being subsidized in some ways. So there are those cultural differences make up the difference of the comp package, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I get you, but yeah, you have in Argentina you have many things that are free, like you say, like health insurance, like education. So you have many great things. But talking about culture, I think the biggest thing that we have in common is that we, as a Latino like culture, we grew up living with things from the United States, movies, restaurants, McDonald's, like things that obviously in India they also have McDonald's. I know, but you know that we really grew up pretty close to those kind of things. So for us, I always tell the same story. But first time I went to New York, I was 24 or 25 years old. And I remember the first moment I just went out from the subway in Times Square. And I felt that I was in a place that I've known for my entire life. And that's because of the movies. And it's like a feeling that I have every time I go to the States. And I go to the States 5 or 6 times a year. But every time I just land at the airport and I see the flag and I start feeling, okay, I'm in a movie again. And that's why we grew up watching movies. We don't like, most of us, well, right now, movies from Argentina are getting better and we have like really good movies. But when I was a kid, 25, 30 years ago, it was not like good. The movies from Argentina used to be horrible, that we only saw movies from the States. So I know, from the little thing of the popcorn, the cars, everything, every little thing. And, you know, those are things that makes you feel closer and closer, and that you are not like so different.
Right. So thank you for that explanation. Let me ask you another one, and I'm going to try to frame this in the right context. What, as a Argentina, you're from Argentina, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and you've developed a successful business doing nearshoring. What advice? Because think about our audience on MAC and Bleu. They're not generally interested in your software engineering, but they are interested in the concept of nearshoring. What can you say to any executive that's listening or watching this that's in a different industry, and they're listening to you and thinking like, oh, is there anything in my industry that I can outsource to Latin America? And I would love to get your perspective, because you get to see all the different industries, even outside of software engineering. What's your advice to those business owners or executives in the United States where they're struggling, looking at the cost of labor, like you were talking about? Hey, I used to pay $100,000 for this person. Now it's $150,000. Can I go to Latin America instead? What advice or what questions can you advise them on asking or exploring?
Well, I would say that I'm 99% sure that they can find any kind of talent in Latin America. Obviously, remote talent. I mean, you talked about construction, and for some things of construction, you can do it remote, but others no. But I know companies in Argentina that provide sales people, marketing people, obviously engineers, designers, BAs, architects, accountants, lawyers, many different kind of professions to the States. And that most of the companies in Argentina, at least I would talk for Argentina, most of the companies in Argentina will always look for working to the States before trying to go to other countries like Colombia, Mexico, or whatever. So you know that if they want to make a research about, I know, if you are a lawyer, for instance, obviously, if you have a lawyer firm and you want to hire lawyers that know about laws in the States, it will be difficult for you to outsource that thing with a lawyer in Argentina. But
Understood.
if you want to have like a branch in Mexico or in Argentina, you can do it, and you can hire that people remote in Argentina. If you are, I don't know, an e-commerce and you need to find a marketing agency to promote your e-commerce, you will be paying less money if you hire a media agency in Argentina or in Latin America than if you hire an agency even in the States. Obviously, it will depend in each case. I mean, if you need, like, for this case of communication for a media agency, if you need like a native English because of the communication of the product that you are trying to sell, I don't know, if you are Nespresso, which is like a premium product, or maybe you will find like an agency in the States because you need that. But if you don't need that, it's always a big possibility. Even more today with ChatGPT, obviously Google, Crunchbase. I mean, it's so easy to say, I need this role in Argentina, in Mexico, in Latin America. And you will start finding tons of web pages and links of people that is doing that. And obviously then you have to make like a double click to understand, okay, are these guys real? Can they do the job and everything, you know? But it's just about starting and lose that fear of saying, hey, they are just around the corner. I mean, from Miami, we are like 8 hours away. It's just a direct flight. So it's something, and if you go to Colombia, I know from Colombia to Miami, you have 3 hours. It's nothing. It's even closer than going from East Coast to West Coast. So it's just about like hopping a plane or doing some research and lose that fear of trying something different.
Good answer. What are you, if I go back to just look at you now, Roger, what Braintly's doing in the future, can you help the audience understand, like, what are you and your partners excited about for the next year or two? And conversely, what risks do you see in what you're doing with the nearshoring in the U.S. and other things? So again, if you're humble enough, can you share both what you're excited for and also maybe where's the fear, where's the trepidation?
Well, I'm excited because we just hire a partner in the States. She's living in New York. She joined the company last year, but this year we are changing the way we are working with her. And I'm excited because I truly believe that this thing will change our positioning in the States. I mean, you know that it's not the same having a real person in your country than just having a company that is in Argentina and you say, oh, they are so far from here. So I'm excited because she has been helping us to close more and more clients the last year and a half. And starting next year with she's like more involved in the whole process, I think that next year will be an amazing year for us. And even more, the market is getting better. After last year, that was a horrible year for all the software agencies, marketing agencies, because of the startup ecosystem just exploded. So I'm really optimistic about that. What's my biggest fear or the thing that I think that could not work? You know that many times I'm not afraid of getting new clients this new year, but I'm afraid of being prepared to start working with, 10, 15, 20 new clients next year, because we have a structure. We are almost 40 people. But you know that if you want to duplicate your structure and next year you want to be 80 instead of 40, it's a big challenge to support that, to being able to hire those people, onboard them, placing them in the clients, having like the time to assure the customer success of each of those. So I would not say that I'm afraid of that, but it's something that it will be challenging, and it's something that I think mostly every day about, okay, how are we going to deal with this? I know that we can do it because we did it in the past, but we have to do it again. I mean, it's like when I've never sold any company, but I know many people that sold their companies, and they always say that, okay, I sold this company and I want to start a new one, but I'm afraid to be like a dumb, because I know if I just did it because I was a lucky guy or because I was the right guy. So same feeling is happening to me right now.
Yeah, but that's the entrepreneur's dilemma every day of the, all the time, right, Roger? It's any of us that have gone on our own. That's always the fear factor. Like, how am I going to scale this? What am I going to do? But therein lies the whole journey, and you're just like all of us. You're on that same journey. So, well, listen, we've got just a little bit of time left, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you what I've been asking all the questions, but what would you, in like the last 5 or 10 minutes here, what would you like to share, either about things you want to talk about, things I didn't ask you, anything related to your company, the verticals that you play in, or just talking to the audience as a human being? I mean, take a few minutes and get off your chest anything you want to share with the audience.
Cool. Let me think. Something that I'm working really hard in the last year is working, and this is like a sentiment that I have and a hypothesis that I'm trying to test. It's working in the top of the funnel, trying to, I don't like to say educate, but spread the word, I will say. Spread the word about Latin America. Because many times I found that many people don't even know where is Argentina in the map or other countries. And I feel that we have a massive opportunity here. So I felt that, okay, I have to start from the beginning. So the beginning is going to events, going more to the States and start pitching, not about my company, but about Latin America. So saying, hey, all these benefits that we have been talking about the last hour, you can find them no matter if you want to hire engineers or construction things or whatever. So I'm trying to become a kind of advocate of the region of Latin America. And I discovered, talking with different people from different countries around Latin America, that I feel really, really good about that. Trying to help the region to provide more and better services. Another thing that we are working really hard, I'm personally working, it's this thing of developing relationships. I love talking with people. I love meeting new people, different cultures, different businesses, asking questions about businesses. But the thing is that we are trying to understand which is the best way of creating those relationships. This is like an open heart section, but it's important for us to create those real relationships, because our company is something that, I mean, if you want to hire us, you need to trust us. So it's important for us, before having trust, creating a relationship. And it's something I'm personally working on from the emotional point of view, let's say, how to engage more with people, how to be like more interested in different kind of industries. Talking about industries, you asked me about industries. We don't work with a specific industry, and that's something that I really love, because I can learn about different things. I'm not like specialized in construction. We work with healthcare, with insurtech, with fintech, with e-commerce, marketplaces, like different kind of industries. And I love that because I can learn about many things. So that's a great side for me, that I'm an engineer, so I always love to be learning new things.
Great summary and great way to wrap it up. So just for the audience sake, again, Roger, the co-founder and CEO of Braintly. And for those of you that want to do more research on Roger and his team, he's got a website. It's Braintly, so Braintly.com. And Roger's also been on a number of other podcasts. I encourage you guys, gals, get on there, look at some of his other content. I think it's will really open your eyes to more nearshoring opportunities in the Latin Americas. And Roger, just again, stick around for the rapid fire after this, but just want to thank you again for jumping on today and sharing your experiences and your growth opportunities within the Americas and the United States. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for the time, for this amazing conversation, and for having me.
You've been listening to the MAC Bleu Show, brought to you by Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the MAC Bleu podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow JJ Levinsky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in every Monday